but you had to wait for the mine sweepers to sweep the road, and then the truck would come out and deliver a hot meal. And you'd get this hot meal delivered, I don't know, late in the day, because the roads were never open until like 9, 10 o'clock in the day. By the time they got the mines swept out of them and stuff, you know. It was overnight, the little fuckers would come up there and plant mines in the road, and dig booby traps and that shit. So anyway, so most of your meals over there you ate were sea rations or stuff you could bum off the village or, you know, buy and trade. So anyway.
Well, I've got the stuff running right now because you were going into some really great stuff right there.
Oh.
I hadn't started yet, so we'll touch back on that. What I'm going to start out with real quick here in your oral history, John, is just some biographical information from you.
Okay.
Some information about where you were born, who your parents were.
Kalamazoo, born in Borges Hospital, 1946. And I was the middle child, kind of. We had eight siblings, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I was number 5. And then I had a sister and another sister and another brother. So I had 3 more after me. So we had 8 of us.
Okay.
So.
What did your dad serve in the military?
No. He didn't get called for World War II because I think he already had 2 kids, maybe. And he also, I think he worked at Sutherland Paper Company at the time, and I think that was considered, I don't know if when he died, he was working as a press operator in Sutherland, but it was considered a critical position, I guess. You have to keep the machinery running to make paper for the war effort, you know, so. You know, people worked at Upjohn. A lot of them didn't go because it was considered, I don't know what the hell they call it, critical.
Yeah, I think you're right. Critical importance for war effort.
Yeah, and my dad, when Vietnam hit, you know, he was, I don't know, 40. No, not Vietnam. When World War II hit, he must have been at least 30. You know, in his 30s sometimes. I don't know what he was exactly, but so anyway, he didn't go to war. So he was deferred. So.
Did you have any uncles that went or aunts? Do you know of?
I think his brother Tim might have went. I don't know. Stanley, I don't know. They never talked about it. Stanley died, you know, after pretty young. Leon was in the military, but I think he might have been, I don't know. He served in the paratroopers in the Army, I believe, but I think he was post-World War II. He was the baby of the family, so to speak, or the youngest, I think. Youngest boy, maybe. So he served. I know for sure he served. I don't know if his brother Tim served. His brother Tim come down with MS, multiple sclerosis, later in life. And I don't know if he had already got that diagnosed or they were just in the process of doing that. So he might not have served. And he worked for Eaton's, I think, for years and built transmissions and that kind of stuff. So he probably had a critical. World War II, he probably was building machinery. Mm-hmm. Everybody that built anything was building something for the war, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Could you tell us a little bit of what, like, it was like to be a child, maybe, during the 50s and the early parts of the Cold War?
Oh, I don't know. Mostly fun and games, I think. I don't know. We never had a lot. I don't remember my folks buying new bicycles for any of us. I think we had seemed like I was always fixing on my bike. Learned how to tear the wheel apart and grease the bearings and clean them and, disassemble the gooseneck on it and change the bearings and clean them up and stuff and make the wheels spin so they really would roll good and weren't sloppy. And the hardest part about fiddling with a bike was tightening the spokes and doing a good job on that. And but I always fixed all my own stuff. I think we didn't have much, but we had. My dad worked. My mom didn't work. My dad worked at the paper mill, and when he got done at the paper mill, a good many nights he would go paint or put up wallpaper. He did interior decorating. Usually he had another buddy, and they would take on a project, some office building or something, and paint the whole office for a couple of weeks, whatever the guy could afford to shut his office down, So he worked a lot of hours, and about the only time we had free, we did some family stuff. We went on a short trips, camping trip. My dad bought a trailer later in life, and he would put a trailer over at Holland State Park, I think, and they would spend a week at Holland State Park. I don't think all of us went over there. I think by then it was kind of the middle ones. I think my two older ones that married off were moved out by then, but yeah, we hunt and fish and did that kind of stuff, The guys did. My sister went hunting once in a while, but she didn't do much hunting. And
do you remember the Berlin Wall going up?
I don't remember when it went up.
Yeah.
It just was always there, it seems like. And I think Reagan talked Gorbachev into tearing it down, if I remember rightly.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Gorbachev, tear this wall down, or something. I can't remember what the hell he did.
What about the assassination of President Kennedy?
That I remember. I remember that. I was in high school, I think, when it happened. I can't remember what grade I was in. Might have been 10th grade, something.
Okay.
And at that time, the high school was just 3 years, 10, 11, 12, I believe. I went to Millwood for 9th grade. I went to all my elementary school at St. Joseph Elementary School on Lake Street in Kalamazoo. And that was a parochial, run by nuns and lay people. They got shorter nuns later on, so that's been my experience. We lived on Division Street in Kalamazoo, which was right on next to the railroad tracks. So it was, living by the railroad tracks was a great adventure, Every time we went for a walk, or went to go do something, we jumped on the tracks and we had it down the tracks. Those tracks are straight line. So yeah, living in the railroad, the shadow of the railroad trains was like a Huck Finn adventure. So there was always something to do. Yeah, we'd do a lot of crazy shit. We'd, of course, hop trains. We'd go down the tracks and the factories that backed up to all of those, the lumber company. There was
probably a paper company.
Yeah, there wasn't a paper company there was on Lake Street, a paper company.
Okay.
And the railroad trains used to back down a little switch siding off the railroad tracks, the Pennsylvania tracks, back down a little siding. And right next to the paper mill was a coffee shop called Atkins Coffee Shop. And they would stop the train there. They would drop off railroad cars with paper in it or pick up stuff. Anyway, they'd stop at the coffee shop. And one guy'd stay on the engine, the other guy run inside and get coffee and stuff, And so I must have took off from my house and I'd go up to across cut through this guy's yard, go over there where the railroad engines are, and I'd holler up, "Hey, mister, can I come up, see your train?" And they let me come up into the cab and play with the throttle, pull that thing, pull the throttle on the engine. One time I got one of them to let me back it down the tracks. It's just a little siding, no traffic on it. And pull on the brakes, and it seemed like the brakes did nothing when you pulled them on, and then they just went, locked up all the wheels, So it was weird, but it was an adventure. We'd go down the tracks, and there was every time I'd get home from school, I'd take dogs for a walk. Well, I didn't walk them down the street. I let them off their leash, and we ran up to the railroad tracks and went down the tracks. It seemed like I took a leash with me, but we just let them rip, and they'd go across. There was the ball diamond across the tracks that belonged to the paper company, and huge ball diamond, grassy area and stuff, and they'd run around over there. We'd hunt rabbits around that ball field that had brush piles and stuff around that, where it's cleared and stuff. We'd go back there with a couple of the dogs, stomping on the brush piles, and the dogs rooting around, and they'd kick a rabbit out, and they'd run down and go hop back in another pile. Well, every once in a while, we'd sneak the shotgun out, we'd break down, we had a little 410 shotgun, it was small, and we'd take the barrel off it, and one guy would stuff the barrel down his pants, and the other guy would stuff the buttstock down his pants, and we'd take 3 or 4 shells with us, and away we'd go rabbit hunting down the railroad tracks. We're going to take the dogs for a walk, Mom. Why are you walking stiff-legged? You got a barrel down your pants. So, nobody arrested you or said anything. They held it, but it was a great adventure down there.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
John.
so life in the 50s, we found shit to do. We didn't sit around and push buttons on a phone. That's for damn sure.
When did you graduate high school?
1965.
65.
Yeah.
Did you go right straight into the service at that time?
Yeah. They were drafting when I graduated in June of 65. I don't know if I was even 18. I might have been 18. Anyway, I went to boot camp by January of 66. So I had June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, I was gone. And in the meantime, between graduating high school and January, we had gone over to Detroit and got physicals and all that stuff, and got sorted out, decided, who was able to, serve and who wasn't. And, we all got our notice in the mail. Greetings from the President of the United States, I think is what it says. I think I got it somewhere. Greetings from the President of the United States. You've been called to service or something? So, anyway, we went over to Detroit. They split us up into groups over in Detroit. They picked out a guy in the Marine Corps, went through, and you, go over in that corner. And then the other guys, you guys all go over in that corner. And then they said, you guys over in this corner are going to get on a bus, and you're going to go down here to the airport, and you're going to fly to San Diego, California, and a sergeant so-and-so is going to meet you there, and he's going to take you to boot camp. And you guys over in this corner, you're going to get on a bus, and you're going to go down, I don't know where in the hell they went, down Georgia or something, I don't know.
Fort Leonard, probably?
Yeah, maybe. He said, you're going to get on a bus and take a bus all the way down south. I find a buddy of mine, he was in the Army line, and I was over in the Marine Corps line. And I said, hey, Dale, ask this guy if you could go on this. We get to fly in a big jet airplane all the way to San Diego, He said, You guys got to get on a sweaty old bus and ride that down to wherever the hell they were going. And you know what? He did. He asked the guy. The guy said, hell yes, I like volunteers. You go over here. So, yeah, we go on runs. His serial number is one number off of mine. You know, because we went in, he was behind me. And he always followed me on runs because we were all in numerical order or whatever. And he'd be kicking me in the ass and in the heels. You son of a bitch. You got me in here for a fucking plane ride. And he'd go on and on and on. So anyway, we got split up. When it came time, we did our training, went home on leave. We had to go back to the West Coast, and they were going to put us into staging battalions. He showed up at one gate, I showed up at another gate, and we ended up in two different staging battalions. So he and I did not go to Vietnam together. So, which it was all right, but you know, it was first. I stayed by the gate for a long time waiting on him. I said, "Well, he ain't here. The clock's a ticking. I got to get checked in, or I'll be AWOL." So, in the meantime, he'd already checked in came in another way or something. So. But, you know, we'll meet you at the gate. Well, those places don't have just one gate.
Let's roll back here a little bit to boot camp. What do you remember most, or what do you remember from boot camp? What was that experience like?
It was mostly discipline. It was marching, physical fitness, PT, exercise. Balance your weight and your nutrition. Fat guys got thin guys got fat, fatter, They make the thin guys get in front of the line, make them eat twice, shit like that. The poor sons of bitches, they go, oh.
And then go run 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah, you let them set for a few minutes. I don't know where. They go by the bathroom, swing by the restroom on the way back. Okay, shit, on my command. Ready, shit. Yeah. That's the way they did that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
The restrooms were big pipes, and they were all copper pipes, and they were polished to a high copper shine. Somebody was in there with copper polishing them damn pipes. I don't know who all polished the pipes, but they came up and the toilet was sitting right on the copper pipes, with the lever to flush it or whether. I don't remember if it was a foot lever or what it was, but there was no partitions, no nothing. Everybody run in and drop them drawers and sit on the toilet, Yeah, no privacy in the military. So.
Oh no.
Yeah. But anyway, what do I remember about boot camp? Marching, discipline, physical fitness. You had to go through tests, and I think then we went on to advanced infantry training. Oh, we had to go to rifle. We went to rifle platoon or rifle camp or whatever for how long we were there? A couple of weeks.
It's usually, if it's similar to what I went through,
yeah,
it's 1 week where they snap in, or grass week, which is just dry fire and firing at barrels.
Yeah.
And then you have your 1 week of actual range qualification. So it's like a 2 process, but that was back up in Pendleton.
Yeah. Well, that's where I went. We went to, where we go? Camp Horno or Camp?
Horno, no, that's the one right underneath SOI. So you would have went, it's where Mount Motherfucker was. Which is
Baldy or whatever they call it. Yeah. They used to run you up and down that. Well, we went there and went through our more basic training. We got to shoot a machine gun, 50. We got to shoot a 60, a 50, a Browning automatic rifle. I think we had to shoot a rocket, 105 rocket launcher.
This was boot camp, or was this ITB?
ITR, Advanced Infantry Training, I think is what it was. ATI.
For us, it was ITB, Infantry Training Battalion.
Okay, so we went with that, and then I think we threw. We had to put a blasting cap and a block of TNT and walk up and throw it in a hole or something. We had to go through that, so we knew how to set a satchel charge. We didn't do any helicopter, where they throw you in a pool and turn you upside down in a helicopter. You didn't have to do that. We had to swim. We had to jump off a tower, simulated jumping off a ship that was sinking or what. I don't know what the hell it was, but we had to jump into a pool, and we had to be able to survival float. I think we had to drop our boots, take our pants off, tie the legs together, and tried to inflate them and made a balloon out of them and hold them down in the water and get them wet, and they would sizzle. You could hear them, air would go through them. And then they'd last for a minute or two, and then you'd have to reinflate them again. And, so it was using your pants as a survival thing. But we had a survival float, if I remember rightly. I don't know if we had to save anybody, like lifeguard type. I can't remember if we had to. I get it confused with in high school. I did scuba diving where we did a tired swimmers swim, and I don't remember. Anyway, it was mostly physical training and then advanced MOS training. And some guys, I think everybody had to go through a certain amount of that, and then they went to their MOSs, like you're going to be a radio man or a rocket man or whatever,
Yeah.
So.
Now, looking back at boot camp, did you know anything about the Marine Corps? Like, you just ended up in the Marine Corps. Was that even the branch you wanted to join?
My brother was in the Army when I went in, and I asked him about what should I sign up. He says, "No, just let them take you. You'll probably end up in the Army." And he says, they only got you for 2 years. Then you don't sign up for nothing. Just go in there and get your duty over, and then after you've been in for 2 years, then you can decide if you want to stay another. And if you decide you want to stay, they'll pay you $5,000 or $6,000 to stay for another couple of years. So anyway, so that's what I did. Actually, I just hung around until they drafted me.
Yeah. And
our birthdays, apparently, I wasn't sure we'd all, my high school buddies, if we'd all get a chance to go together or not, but pretty much all of us in the same age group went in January, for the whole year, Like my birthday was in December, so I was, I guess younger, you'd say, or whatever, so, yeah. I remember a lot of discipline stuff and hazing, harassment. I remember one guy fell out from a run, and the DI would get back there and kick him in the ass, tell him to get up off the ground, quit whining, and get his ass back in line. And he wouldn't run. I can't do it. He said, "Okay, you little fucker. You can't run, you're going to crawl." And he had him crawl all the way across that goddamn grinder back to the barracks. He had no fucking pockets on his shirt. His buttons were all gone. Then he told him, "Get out your sewing kit." He said, "You got to sew them fucking buttons back on your shirt." So, yeah, it was, and most of the guys that ran out or flunked out on a run and stuff like that, they'd done something. They were either overweight and really out of shape, or they'd overeat, or that kind of thing, where you couldn't, you get a gut ache when you're running, So,
did they have yellow footprints for you to stand on?
Oh yeah, we had yellow. When we got off the bus, we had to put our feet in them damn yellow footprints, and you'd have a bunch of DIs screaming in your ears, kind of like they show in the movies,
Yeah.
But, yep, we did that. And they filed us through and shaved our hair, and I think we got clothing and everything. They measured us, went on there with a whole fucking handful of clothes. Then we went somewhere and got out of our slimy civilian clothes and got into boot clothes. So yeah, we were lower than whale shit on the totem pole. Yeah.
I'm laughing because it's just bringing back so many of my own memories as I'm going back through boot camp. I got to ask you, when, because I know you had one. So when was your, oh shit, why am I here moment? For
Oh
you?
yeah.
When was that?
I don't know. Probably. I don't. I didn't draw a lot of attention to me, if possible.
Sure.
So for the most part, I skated a lot of that abusive shit. You know, because when that fucker said hit the road, I was hitting the road. You know, and so maybe I didn't get treated as harshly, but I think everybody in my platoon got beat on or their ass kicked at least once when they were in boot camp. And they would find some excuse to get in your case. And, you know, I don't care if it was mail call and your girlfriend put a lipstick on the fucking thing. They'd say, you know what this what's this SWAK, SWAK, sealed with a kiss, you know. They write that on a fucking letter and they put a big old red lipstick. All them fuckers say, oh, here, let me put this against your lips. You go, whack, hit the back of his hand. He says, it says SWAK, doesn't it? I'm swacking you. Fucker have bloody lip. He write his girlfriend, don't never do that on my envelope again. Yeah, but, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So you said earlier, after boot camp, you went to ITB and explained that. How long was that schooling? And how long?
Maybe it was AIT, Advanced Infantry Training.
Okay.
I think is what it was called. How long was that?
Yeah.
Boot camp was 8 weeks, I think. And part of that was rifle camp. Another week or two. So maybe it was 10 weeks altogether. And then went home on leave, came back, and had to go to advanced training, I believe, is what happened. Or did we go straight from boot camp to advanced training? I think we ended up putting in 12 weeks, I think. Maybe another 4 weeks of that advanced shit. Honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember if rifle company was in the middle of our boot camp and then we went back and finished boot camp, or if we were done with boot camp and then we went to rifle company and then advanced infantry. I don't remember exactly how they worked it then, but I think boot camp was only like 8 or 10 weeks, and I think they added another 4 weeks on after that. Because I think some guys said they used to be 16 weeks, and you had sports on Sunday. You had sports, church, and letter writing time, you know, that kind of stuff. So Sunday was more of a easy day, but we went to church on Sundays. I think it was Sunday morning, you either could stay back and clean your rifle, clean the barracks, that kind of thing, or you had to pick a religion. And I think you had to at least pick a religion and go at least once or twice to Sunday services. So if somebody says, well, I don't know, he's okay, you're you're going to synagogue or what? I can't even remember what the hell they called it. You're an LSD? Well, you're going to go here with the whatever. You know, Latter-day Saints over here. You know, Catholics, you're over here. Protestants, it seemed like it was just Protestants, Catholics, and I think Latter-day Saints. So Jewish went where?
They might have had something extra with like the chaplain, because usually your chaplain can do any service.
Yeah.
And that, but they pick out what like the main religions or whatnot, and that's what they. And then if you need special whatnot, you'll go over here with the chaplain and do your thing.
I think the guys that wouldn't pick, they said, well, to this week you're gonna be Protestant, and then next week you're gonna be Catholic, and they sent them to all the damn services. And then after they did a dose of that, I think then they could pick, But yeah, it was. They kind of made it a joke, Oh, look, Jew boy's going to be a Protestant this week, or whatever. Yeah.
So for your AIT schooling, looking back at that, I'm guessing you weren't expecting to be able to play with that many different weapons for you. Was that
No, the idea was you could fill in the slot for somebody else. If you had a machine gunner that went down and you're right there next to it, somebody's going to have to man that gun, and somebody's going to have to be the team helper, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Ammo humper or whatever. And truly, a lot of times the machine gun squads would have more than just their guys carrying ammo for the machine gun.
Yeah.
They carry a belt, whatever fit around them, So.
Awesome.
But we did demolitions. We fired a 105 recoilless rifle, I think, or at least saw a demonstration in it. I know what we did. We might have fired, there was a 50 caliber on top of it. We might have loaded the 50, cranked up the controls, and fired the 50. And I don't remember how the fired. It was a palm button, or if that fired the 105. I don't remember, but it was on a tripod. Mm-hmm. And they did a demonstration with it. They shredded a wooden crate with the back blast off that sumbitch, and showed us where to properly stand so that we wouldn't get looking like that orange crate. That orange crate looked like toothpicks when that thing backblasted it. So we learned how to fire a 105 recoilless rifle. We learned how to fire a bazooka. Did not fire an M79, I don't believe. Or did we?
That was was that the, or maybe I'm mistaken.
It was looked like a breakdown shotgun that had a 20 millimeter?
40 Mike.
40 millimeter round in it. I think we might have fired an M79 in that training. Put in one, fire it, I think, because I remember them having an armored vehicle out in the field or something. And it seems like I remember that big tall-ass sight on that thing. And we had to put a big lob on it. Yeah. So we fired all that shit. Any man-carried gun and some crew serve stuff we learned how to fire, and at least be able to load it and prep it and fire it.
So when you complete your training at AIT and you've completed boot camp, well, actually, let's go back a little bit. When did you get the title Marine? Is it right when you arrive at boot camp?
I think at graduation, you went from being a boot or a slimy civilian or whatever they wanted to call you to a private, I believe. And there was only one or two PFCs that got, we were privates. We were no strike. Mm-hmm. No, I think a private is just one chevron. And so that's when they called us Marines, I think, on graduation. Might have been the first time they called you that, if I remember rightly.
Did they ever put something like the EGA in your hand?
What's that?
The Eagle Globe and Anchor, like that goes on your dress uniform, and they set it on your hand?
No.
Okay, yeah, we had to do something like that. I was wondering if you guys had like a crucible or anything.
The only thing we had with a Globe and Anchor on it, besides something stamped on our clothing, would be for our dress hat had a Globe and Anchor. Mm-hmm. I think in the center of the whatever they call them.
The cover.
Yeah, the cover. Cover. That's what they call it. Cover. Military cover.
All right. So you finish AIT, you finish boot camp, become a Marine. Do you go straight from AIT to Vietnam?
Home on leave, if I remember rightly.
Home on leave?
Yeah, and I don't know what it was, 15 days or so. We went home on leave, and I stayed home for part of that time. And then I went back a little early, and I visited my aunt in Los Angeles, I believe. And I stayed with her for maybe 2 days, 3 days, something like that. And she had a boy that was about my age. He was older than I was, actually, but we went to a concert or something that she thought was entertaining for us. And I think we went to see, it was either Donovan or Bob Dylan, I can't remember, at some nightclub in L.A. and listened to him sing. Went to Disneyland one time when I went out there. So she was a pretty nice lady. And then I had to go check in at the barracks, and like I said, I waited at the gate for my other buddy to show up, but he'd already gone in, so that didn't work out.
Awesome. Now, do you feel your training both in AIT and boot camp prepared you for Vietnam? Prepared you for what's next?
I don't think it really prepared me for the country and the climate and the war situation and that kind of thing. But I definitely learned how to operate equipment and the guns of war, or whatever you call it, and from that standpoint. The rest of it was just suck it up and go with the flow, I mean, if it was too hot for you, that's too fucking bad. It's too hot for him, too, and you don't hear him bitching, So, yeah. I didn't have anything to compare it with. Maybe somebody else who was around there. I mean, we did have people that were Korean War vets, and I don't know. I never really talked to them because they were all in the command bunker. That's where those guys all were, all the officers and all the NCO gunnies. Usually our gunnery sergeant, our lieutenant, our captain. I think the corpsman stayed up there in the command bunker. There's a radio operator, one of them usually stayed up there. I don't know who all. We didn't really have a chaplain there. Mm-hmm. And they come out to visit. When we were in Da Nang, we got to go to church, I think, twice.
So what was your first assignment then after basic, after you get back from leave? You just go into another unit? Do you remember? Do you remember when you were possibly in Vietnam then?
We went through training, and when training was done, we went home on leave. We came back, and I think we went to what they called staging battalion. Okay. And staging battalion kept us there until they got enough of them together, and they shipped us overseas. Some people left by airplane, went over. We went by ship. When it come time for us to stage up, and in staging battalion, we think we went on fucking runs too. I think we went on some kind of cross-country run. I want to say 7-10 miles, something like that, with light packs and that kind of stuff. And so we were still doing all kinds of PT and stuff. We weren't doing rifle drill, left shoulder arm stuff, but we definitely were still doing physical training and stuff. And I think staging battalion, we didn't do any new stuff, I don't think, other than PT and wait for, we got enough people together to get orders to ship out.
Awesome.
Because I don't know what, I'm trying to think of what month I went back there. Well, I left in June, right? Or July. I left in July.
Yep.
No, I left in June. I got to Vietnam in July, I think.
Okay. That makes sense because you said you went over on ship.
Yeah, I did. It took 21 days to get over there. So
How was that?
It was boring mostly. I mean, there's not much out there in the ocean. It's a big place. We didn't even get to. I don't think we even had any rifles or anything on the ship. We got all that stuff when we got to Vietnam, I believe. We just had sea bags and uniforms. And yeah, it was mostly just boring. Oh, we did do something. We when we crossed the day line, crossed from Sunday into Monday or whatever, or the other way around, Monday into Sunday, or we sailed through into tomorrow, didn't we?
Yeah,
We were sailing.
Yeah, because you were coming from California, going towards Asia. You would be going into the next day.
Yeah.
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 You would
we missed
you
a
would
day.
you would skip a day. Yeah.
We skipped a day, if I remember right. And so they had an initiation on the boat, and they lined us all up, and we had to run the gauntlet on the deck, and they had fucking at the end of the gauntlet we had to crawl and grunt like pigs and do kind of weird shit, and they had spread a bunch of garbage on the deck, and it was greasy, and they didn't want to break anybody's legs or anything, but they had fun with spanking you on the ass and stuff. Yeah, is that what that is? What's that called? The
Shellback?
Shellback. And that's when you cross the date line?
Cross the equator. You guys might have done it when you crossed the date line. I did it when I crossed the equator.
Well, we did get a little card
Yep.
from King Neptune or something saying or whatever the hell it is. But anyway, at the end, they had some big fat fucker. I don't know who he was, but he had a big beer belly on him. He had his belly all greased up, and you had to kiss his belly, I think. Bend down and kiss that fat fuck's belly. And I don't remember.
Was there an olive in his belly button?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't. It was one of those things like eating shit. Do it quick and keep your nose plugged, So.
For me, I heard about the Navy, and it was like hush hush because I guess it's like the only authorized hazing event the DoD puts on. And I was like, wait, the Navy's going to haze me, and they're like, yes, the Navy's going to haze you. And I was like,
I think it was Navy guys.
Yeah, I was like, sign me up. Let these guys, let me see what they think hazing is. Can I do it back to them? No, you can't do it back to them. At least not these guys.
Yeah.
Next pollywogs, because that's what we were. We're pollywogs. You may have heard that term because you weren't a part of King Neptune's deck.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, shellbacks and pollywogs. Yeah.
Bring something back with those.
Yeah.
That's a great time. Most people don't even know that happens. I love telling the story about that because you're absolutely right. Garbage on the ship, all the condiments that you couldn't eat, all of a sudden magically show up that you have to crawl through the stuff. You can't even identify things. It's a great time. I'm glad you got to experience that because that is probably one of the better things you can do with the Navy.
Well, it was one thing about it. It kept us interested.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a long, boring trip over there. So doing something was nice.
It seems like we pulled watch duty at night. And it seems like they had people assigned at the fantail of the ship. Garbage watch or something. 'Cause that's where they threw the garbage off, I believe, the fantail. But, we had to go back there and stand fantail watch. But I don't think I had to. I mean, the ship that I went over on had a name, the USS William Weagle.
What a name.
And I think it was maybe it was a freighter ship that had the hull converted to racks, bunks, I don't know how many trips that ship, but I've got a book. You can look that shit up and look up the U.S. William Weagle, and they've got a record of every freaking trip it took across the pond. But I think it was civilian operated. But so anyway, yeah. Yeah, it was boring. I remember a couple of exciting things happened. One, they all ran up topside, and there was a report that there were dolphins porpoising on the bow on the wake. They were riding the wakes. They were surfing out there, and that was kind of neat. They were just tagging along a ride. I don't know if they were traveling long distances, and they do that so they don't have to. So they can save energy, I think. Don't know.
Well, so you get across the pond, you get shell back, you get all that experience done.
Yeah.
What is it like getting to Vietnam? I mean, at this point, you've had, 6-7 months of training, a lot of build-up. You know you're getting ready for it. So you ran in. Was Vietnam what you were expecting right away?
Not really. I don't know what I expected. I know I thought it was kind of weird that they didn't have a dock. They come out and got us in Mike boats. And I was looking at my pictures, and they said, this picture, I wrote on the back of it after the fact, coming in from Da Nang Harbor to drop anchor. July 9th, 1966. Mike boats come out and pick us up because Da Nang has no docks. I don't think that's true. I think they did have docks. Now, why in the hell? But I thought we landed in Chu Lai. So this might not be a picture of Da Nang Harbor, because I added it later. But those are the boats that came out and got us. And I think we went over the side, went down to some lower level, and they opened a hatch down there, and we went down a rope and climbed into the boats.
Kind of like World War II status almost, Korea status.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then you get...
So that's on a ship.
Yep.
High and dry. Okay, so I probably had a camera with me, so I popped a couple pictures. Here's one. This one here, picture taken January 26th while en route for Operation DeSoto. So apparently we loaded up on trucks and we went on DeSoto, was trucked somewhere, probably to the airport, and then probably helicopters took us out from there. Not sure. So when I was at the airport, I got some pictures of jets landing on the airstrip and a radar installation I thought was kind of cool. And here's one. Me and a couple other Marines snuck off to Anton, I don't know where that was, for the day and met a couple of drunk Koreans in the Playboy Club. So we stayed overnight at some kind of facility, and we were able to get off. Usually they kept you enclosed into... they'd put a tent. They'd say you have to go to transit facility, and you check into transit facility while you're en route somewhere. Or some outfit would say, here, stay in these tents while you're waiting for transportation to pick you up. We were going to go choppers or wherever. But anyway, so those are the kind of shots. Then again, I'm not out in the field. We're just doing that fucking around, So those are times when we were having fun. Here I've written question mark Hill 65 before Operation DeSoto question mark. So this apparently is somewhere, I'm going to say maybe in the Da Nang area, Hill 65 or maybe Hill 55, and we were doing gung-ho pictures of where we try somebody else's rockets. You know what I mean? And take pictures of us dealing with somebody else's. So I got a picture of me with a scope. That's an infrared night vision scope on that rifle, on that M14. Big old clunky thing. Made I think a reddish image on a black background or a black image on a red background. It was funny looking. There's a bazooka in there, right?
Yep.
And then what else have I got? I'm showing in there. A bunch of us standing around giving us the finger. Oh, Ollie. This is a shotgun. This is a
Which one?
Model 12
Oh, yeah.
a shotgun, I think. And can't remember if it was the takedown model. I think it was a Model 12, but I don't know if it had a hammer on it. It was a Model 97, maybe? Winchesters.
Doesn't look
And I remember it had brass shells, all brass. You know, the sides, not plastic, but
Like
mounted
they are
in
today.
brass.
Yeah.
So anyway, we do these gung-ho flicks.
That's awesome.
Here's another picture. Jet crash, let's see.
Do you remember when you did your first patrol? Because as being an 11, correct?
Yeah,
That's what you were.
it was in, what in the hell was the name of that village? Tantra. Tantra Village, I think, was right here. And there was a couple of them. Tantra 1, Tantra 2, whatever. And I think the first patrol I did was when I got assigned to a place, I always called it, we were across the road from Mike Battery. Mike Battery. Here we go. This was Mike Battery, I think. Mike Battery and Chulai. We had a little low hill, and we were across the road from that artillery battery. And I don't know what the name of the hill. The hills went by numbers.
Yeah.
If it was 65 meters tall, it was called Hill 65,
Yeah. Only a few I've come across that had
And so we ran patrols out off wherever our hill was. I don't know which one of these little things was our hill, but we ran patrols out through these villes. And what's that? The Song Trebong River. Yeah, Trebong River comes through there. So we ran. So our first patrols, I don't know which way they were. They were up here. They were down there. But I remember I had difficulty navigating the slippery rice paddies and stuff. We were there, I think July and August, and I think in September we were having rains, and it was real muddy and wet, and cold, and I twisted my ankle, and I got light duty. And they sent me into Da Nang. They put a cast on my foot, and I didn't have to go on patrol anymore, but I had to stand hole watch. And my cast got soaked, and they had a little rubber puck in the bottom of the cast. When I tried to walk on that rubber puck, it crammed up into my foot, the arch of my foot, and it would give me a cramp, Charlie horse. And the cast was all fucking deteriorated. I couldn't keep it dry, it was monsoons, Try to wrap plastic around it and shit. Yeah, didn't work. So they finally, I think I went back in Da Nang. They cut the damn thing off and wrapped it in ace bandages and sent me back. I could keep care of an ace bandage, and I had a really black and blue ankle because I'd rolled that damn ankle. Okay, that was across the road from Mike Battery. Here was. I think this was off Hill 65 in Vietnam. This is a jet that come out of this valley. We're on a hill looking out into this valley, and I can't remember if that's the day the jet crashed or if that's the day after the jet crashed, and they sent guys down there with demolitions and they blew the jet up. But it was shot down out in the valley there. And we ran patrols out in that valley, and I don't even know what the name was. We'd run several patrols. We were on Hill 65, I think, twice in Vietnam. Early, and then after DeSoto, we came back, I think, again to it. There was a battery out on a peninsula, a finger of Hill 65, and they pulled up and left. And when they left, we went down and tore all their buildings apart and moved their shit up to our hill. And this is what we built. That was the best house I ever had in Vietnam. That wooden shed. We came off an operation up north at Dong Ha. They flew us down there, and we were down there November and December, and then part of January. In January, we took off on Operation DeSoto, and I don't think we came back to that hill again. But we built that damn thing with a fucking funky saw, and I think we had one hammer, and we straightened the old nails and took them out of the lumber. We didn't have any nails, nothing. And we put that hooch together, and that was nice. It was not a sandbag bunker.
It was dry.
It was dry, we actually built racks. We built wooden racks, and we got the village kids to sell us mattresses that were just cotton or something stuffed in hands, and so they might have been that thick. You roll them up like a bedroll. But man, that was so nice. We spent Christmas there. We had a table. We could send cards home. I got a care package delivered, and it had a fifth of whiskey in it. And oh shit, I was everybody's hero. Yeah, Popcorn, stuffed in popcorn. My mother packed everything in popcorn because she figured it'd make good packing material, and we could eat it even if it was stale. There might be caramel corn, or it might just be buttered popcorn, but yeah.
How was the mail over there for you? How was mail?
Mail, we got mail all the time, but I think our squad leader went up to the command tent. I don't know, mail probably came out with a chow truck. If it brought sea rations out, or if it brought a hot meal out, the mail would come with that. And then after the meal was served or whatever, the squad leaders would go to the command tent. The rest of us would all go back to our hooches, and he'd get all the mail and come back and pass the mail out to whoever got mail. Didn't have to pay for anything. We just needed to write address on there and write FMF, Fleet Marine Force, and I don't think there was any postage. Now, I think our folks had postage coming the other direction. Here's what we flew in. That's why I grabbed this picture. When I was over there, we were flying in those CH-34s.
Yeah.
Bullnose helicopter, gas engine in them. I think they ran aviation gas on them. Piston engine.
Look at that thing.
And I can't remember, they held 7 people maybe, plus the
Crew,
but there wasn't much room in them.
I was in, I rode around a lot in Hueys, which I'm sure came after that.
Here's some propaganda we must have got sometime or another.
So when you guys were off operation, you guys weren't on guard duty or something like that.
Nope.
What were you guys doing for recreation?
Playing cards, getting some kid to bring us some beer. Not much. I don't remember. I don't remember if they had somebody had a football. They'd throw a football back and forth. I don't know what they'd play, but I didn't usually participate. I don't sitting around drinking, smoking, and fucking chewing the fat. Trying to coax some kid to bring his big sister so that somebody could jump in the rack with her or something, that kind of shit going on. So I don't know. We didn't have any organized activities that I can remember. I don't think I ever had any. So
if you're all right with it, John, I'd like to talk a little bit about just Operation DeSoto because it's come up a few times now.
okay.
When exactly did that operation happen? Do you remember, or when did it begin?
DeSoto. It ran. It ran. I'm trying to remember. Where's my awards? Here. Let's see. This says it ran January 27th to April 7th.
Okay.
That's what this says. And I think one of those pictures had me taken off for Operation DeSoto. We were staging for something to go to Operation DeSoto.
Do you remember what your mission was with that operation? Did they even tell you what your mission was?
The squad leaders probably knew. They're the ones that got all the information. But I'm going to say we were going to sweep out a peninsula that hadn't been inhabited by any military, American military in a long time. So we wasn't sure what we were running into, but we were pretty certain it was Viet Cong infested. And so we were going on that. And we this is a map of part of it. This is Duck Pho is the town I think that was nearest it. But we started up there coming up the highway, and we were sweeping villages coming in on like 2-track roads and sweeping through villages, searching villages, that kind of stuff. And we had a big operation. There was our company, and I think my company was on one side of us, and I don't know who was the other company, but there was like 2 or 3 companies that were heading out this peninsula. I think that's what they said it was.
Was it fairly open terrain, or do you remember it being dense?
Right. It was big, huge open rice paddies with dikes going across them, and they would tee into a village, and a village would have a few huts in it, 10, 15, 20 huts or something, and then it would open up into rice paddies again. And then over there you'd see a tree line, thick vegetation. There'd be another village over there. So it was kind of like that. It was sporadic dikes and that kind of thing. But the place we got pinned down was a big dike. We'd come off a hill called Sa Bin. We'd spent the night there, if I remember rightly. We set up a perimeter around Sa Bin. They were doing bomb drops and that stuff, softening up the area and getting ready to. Apparently, one of the other companies had taken rounds already, I think, and so they were bombing and napalming and doing all kinds of shit out there, calling in artillery strikes. And we were waiting to move out. Our captain I think moved us out, and so we started pulling back, going up the hill, and going off the other side of the hill. We were kind of on the whatever the hell it is, the north end of the hill, and we went off the south end of the hill, I guess. But we took rounds out of a village. We spent the night staying there on this hill. We just all crapped out and lined up in a row around the, like below the military crest of the hill, and we all sat there and had chow and stayed the night. And then the next morning, we headed out to go on this sweep. And when we pulled back, I set a machine gun up on a corner, and we were on a trail along the base of that hill, and we came back. And no, we weren't on a base; we were on the hill. We came back along this side trail, and then we had a machine gun on a corner, and then we turned and went up the hill and off the back side. Well, I think I was on the corner. Somebody else had the machine gun, but I think I was just ammo humping at the time. Somebody else had the gun, and when our squad leader went up the hill, and a round went right by us, a sniper round went right by us and hit him in the ankle, and so that fucked up everything. So we didn't head out. We got a late start that day because we had to bundle him up, got him medevaced. And I don't remember the chopper coming or where they medevaced him from, but he went out of there. He never made the operation. And then, so we were without a squad leader. So the next guy in line was the Lance Corporal, and I think he was running the squad. Anyway, so we took off. We headed off the hill, and we started walking this big, long dike across this open rice paddy. And when we got to the other side of the dike, T intersected with another dike. We turned that corner, and they had the rifle squad was up in front of us. And they turned another corner, and they were coming down another trail. So we went up and zigzagged and went in on this trail, and they hit a bunker that was opened up on them, shooting, I don't know what the hell they had, 50 caliber or something up there. They had some kind of anti-aircraft gun or something. And they were shooting up the trail and pinned a bunch of guys down out there. So we stayed there shooting into the tree line and calling in airstrikes on the Ville and all that shit. But that's typical, they knew we were coming. You can't move a 2 or 3 man company quietly, And so then we stayed all night, so they knew we were coming up the valley, and I think they called in reinforcements or whoever they could get. And that village had trenches dug behind every fucking hedgerow in there. There was, on the village side, it was a low trench where they could sneak along, look out through the bushes, so to speak. So they had a lot of cover. I mean, they weren't covered from bombs, but, visibility wasn't very good. So anyway, we stayed there shooting back and forth at them. We'd take sniper rounds and we'd shoot an area, and we'd take more sniper rounds, shoot an area. They brought a squad up. We had a squad of guys out in the middle of the open and that were taking direct rounds. Sent another group of guys in to try to help them and get out. We had wounded out there, dead out there. It was just a fucking goat rodeo. And finally, after dark, we were able to, the lead elements went in there and got all the dead guys out. I remember they went by us carrying bodies and ponchos and stuff. We were on a corner with a machine gun set up, aiming out towards the village. But once it started getting dark, it got quiet. Nobody was shooting much, And we pulled back to, I think that hill, Sabin. I think we pulled back to there, and I don't know how we ended up, but we ended up at Battalion. They were on another hill down the road a ways, so I don't know how we got there. I think maybe we might have loaded on trucks, went back down the road far enough to where we got trucks and went by trucks. I don't think we walked the battalion. Don't know. Anyway, went back in. We pulled off at night, darts. I think we spent the night on Sabin again, I think. And they took a group of volunteers and went back to look for, one of the guys was missing. And they overlooked him, I think. Didn't know where he was at. So they decided they would clear out everybody that was easy pickings, you know, and bring them back, and then they'd go back in. So they took a group of his close guys, volunteers, and some of them went, but a lot of them didn't go. They'd had enough. And other people stepped up and said they would go in their stead, you know, and which was good. They give them a chance to get a break, you know, a little bit. So went back in and they found him. So we didn't leave anybody in the field, so that was good. You know, they were big on that, not leaving anybody in the field. Of course, so were the Viet Cong. They were real good at that. Yeah. I guess if you figured you found bodies, you know, you could damn well be sure that they were overloaded. They'd carrying so many bodies they couldn't haul that one, you know. So that's because they were pretty strict about hiding the bodies. Even if they didn't haul them out, they'd hide them. Because they didn't want you to know that you'd been successful, which is probably good psychology.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that's probably not exactly easy.
Anyway, I never got in any situation where I was hand-to-hand combating anybody, which was kind of nice. Most of my stuff was we're taking rounds and we fire and spray, you know, spray the area down, and riflemen angle in and try to, you know, do a move on them, and usually the rifleman ended up with the brunt of the stuff. The only time machine guns really got into assaulting type things is when they want us to assault a hill, or, you know, then you get online and you start moving up the hill. And we did have some situations with that, but we were fortunate. We lost one guy, Jerry DeMunda was his name. He's from Buffalo, New York, and he died assaulting. Don't even know where the round come from, because most of the action was on the backside, and you're coming up over the cemetery, and all of a sudden his rifleman was out in front of him a little bit, you know, his ammo humper, and Jerry was kind of off to the side of him just a little bit, and looked back, and there's Jerry laying on the ground. He took a hit, and he was down like dead down. And he said I didn't see it happen. He said Jerry was laying there on his back with a smile on his face. I don't know what, he was a smiling kind of guy anyway, but he said it was the strangest fucking thing. He was laying there with his eyes wide open with a smile on his face. Dead as hell. I think he got hit in the head. But, so.
Did you have anything that you considered like a good luck charm?
Not really. I had I think I had a St. Christopher medal that I wore for quite a while. I think I lost it. I had my dog tags, kept those on me most all the time. And I think maybe on my dog tags it was hooked with a chain, and I think I had a St. Christopher medal. I might even had a scapular medal, which has a picture of Christ on it, and it's knitted around the outside, and it was in plastic, and it was kind of pretty durable. I had one of those, but they gave us out shit like they give us out decks of cards with aces on them, a whole deck of cards full of aces of spades, and they come passing them around saying, everybody put aces of spades on there because we heard it was superstitious, and so they were using psychological warfare is what they were using. Then you could go out and tack them to trees, and shit like that, just to try to spook the enemy, I don't know. I didn't believe much in that shit. I always looked at that fucking ace of spades and it looked like you were putting a bullseye in your hat. A lot of guys stuck them in a rubber band on their helmet. So you got this fucking white spot on your helmet with a black dot in the middle of the ace of spades. I'm going, I don't think I want one of those in my helmet. I'll stick with the camouflage and make it harder to see. I don't want to show up. So.
What do you think was the best part of your service experience?
You know what I enjoyed the most? Messing around with the kids. Little kids. We had kids that come around our hill, hung around. I can remember one little kid was teaching me some Vietnamese, and I was teaching him English. Mostly this happened in Da Nang area on Hill 65. We were there long enough. We were there like 2-3 months before we moved out on another operation, and we came back there again later. But I talked the lieutenant in. This kid had a little bit of a speech impediment. And come to find out he had a tooth growing out of the roof of his mouth. And that's why he talked funny. He had one of his tooth seeds. Apparently he got misplaced, genetics or whatever. And I asked him, I said, well, I had been in Da Nang, I had a molar pulled because I got an infected molar and I had a toothache. And the lieutenant put me on a chow truck and I went in Da Nang and I found the dentist and he'd written me permission slip and I went and they jerked that sucker out and put me back on a chow truck. And I think I stayed overnight and took the next truck going back to the hill. Did the same thing with this kid. I said, do you want to get that tooth out of your head? Yeah. I said, I'm going to ask the lieutenant if they could ship you to our dentist and pull that tooth for you. Would you want to do that? Would your mom be okay with it? And he was all for it. And I said, it's going to hurt. But I said, they'll get rid of that damn tooth and maybe you can talk a little better, And so anyway, I went to see the lieutenant. He was receptive to it. They were always trying to think of projects that could, win the hearts and minds of the people or whatever. And so anyway, he went in Da Nang, got his tooth pulled. His mouth was sore for a few days. But little Tom, we used to call him Tommy. I think his name was Palm. But I took a picture of him. He's this little guy on a bicycle. And somebody else took that picture of him. But I never had a camera when he was around, or I never got a picture of him. There's that little girl there, she would bring Cokes and take your laundry back home to her mom, and they'd wash your laundry for you. If you had a pair of dirty pants, you give them 10 cents, 15 cents.
Sure.
They'd get her done, And if you needed new utilities, they'd end up with clothing. They'd take them home, do the laundry, and if somebody shipped out the next day, they might not get the laundry back to them. So they had shelves full of laundry. So-and-so? I said, no. Well, he my company. He go away. I have his laundry. You see so-and-so, you tell him I got laundry. So I'll sell them to you for 20 cents or whatever. So, the kids were always fun. I remember, one of the operations we were on, we spent the night near a small hillside that had tea plantation on it. We set up a poncho there, and that's where we spent the night. I think we spent a day or two there. And it seemed like there was a bridge and a river there. But we had some downtime. And one of the guys had a record player, like a child's record player about this big, and it's got a little arm. You bring it over, and somehow they got that damn thing rigged up so it'd run off the radio batteries. The old, I think we had prick 10s, and then we got prick 25s, and I don't remember what era that was when they switched over, but one of those batteries, you could disassemble them and throw off enough cells that you could get the voltage right or whatever from the anyway, long story short, they would put that battery, it was a DC record player. Then some other guy would carry a record. Or maybe you got one, they got 3 records. They put a back on, put a record in it. Well, the fucking records would get cracked and damaged, and you'd line up the crack and still play it, you know what I mean? And anyway, I remember one time we had the kids singing to a song on the record, and it was the Beach Boys, and they were playing Barbara Ann. And Ba in Vietnam, I think, is beef or water buffalo, mother. It had several different meanings to it depending upon the inflection on it, whether you go up or whether you go down with it. Anyway, we got the kids all gathered around, and most of the song is just saying ba, right? And they knew how to say ba. So they're going, ba, 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 baran, ba, ba. They're out there singing, Barbara Ann. Yeah, we had them singing Barbara Ann out in the middle of the fucking boondocks with no electricity on a record player. And, you know, I remember those were fun times. And that one little shit, he was smoking a cigarette. Can I have a cigarette? You know, we're giving this fucking 10-year-old cigarettes. He's smoking cigarettes and singing Barbara Ann. Yeah, the Marines were polluting the children of tomorrow. But those were entertaining times.
That's awesome.
Enjoyed the kids. The kids were kind of good. Who knows? They probably went home and told their mother how many Marines were there and what were their ranks and all that shit. But it was hard to ignore them.
Do you recall the day your service ended and where you were?
I remember hopping on the chow truck, saying goodbye to everybody, and so it was like in the middle of the day, and getting on that truck and heading to Da Nang to check into transit facility, and I'm not sure if I actually had orders in my hand or I just had a permission slip that got me to transit facility, and transit facility would give me my orders to go home. I'm not sure how that worked. I don't remember is what I'm saying. But yeah, we hopped the chow truck. And when I hopped the truck to go in, lo and behold, Ed McAndrews was on that goddamn truck. We used to call him Mac. And Ed was in Vietnam when I arrived there, so he was due to rotate out, right? And he's on the back of this truck coming out to our hill when I'm getting on the truck to go into Da Nang to go home. I'm done with my tour. So I'm going like, well, fuck, I thought you already went home, Mac. You've been gone for 2 months. No, it's a long story. What happened was, just like me, I took R&R after Operation DeSoto. Mac went right after me, and when he went on R&R somewhere, never went back to his outfit. He had a buddy in the Air Force, and he went to the Air Force, and they had these really nice 2-story buildings that they stayed in with fucking, I think they had metal racks with mattresses and everything. And his buddy gave him a uniform, and there was a spare bed in his hooch. He joined the Air Force, so he went AWOL and was living with his Air Force buddy, eating in their mess hall, and never got caught for like 2 months or something. So anyway, I'm leaving, and here's McAndrews coming in on the truck. Yeah, he says, I've been with the Air Force or something. I'm going like, see you, Mac. I'm heading home. Good to see you, you know. Well, I met him at Reunion in San Diego. He flew. Was it San Diego? Maybe it was Philadelphia. I met him in Philadelphia. He lived in Boston. And he showed up for the Philadelphia reunion and told me the story of him going AWOL. He said after he'd gone on Operation DeSoto, he just lost his goddamn courage. He did not want to go back to war. And he said, I couldn't admit that for a long time, but he said, I went to see my buddy in the Air Force. He put me up. I stayed there until I got caught. Then I had to go to jail for a while, motivation platoon. Then I was coming back and rejoining the outfit because I had to make up the time I missed. So he ended up going an extra 2 or 3 months in Vietnam. Plus, you know.
Where did you get to go on R&R?
Whatever happened to come up, usually officers and that kind of stuff got the better picks. Married men got the better picks. I got to go to the restroom.
Yep, I can pause this.
I went.
Zoom. All right, John. So when you get out of the service, you end your time in the Marine Corps. Do you return back to Michigan or do you go somewhere else?
Michigan. I came to Kalamazoo. I started dating my wife when I came back. I came back and got sent to Camp Lejeune because my division had pulled out of the West Coast. So I went to the East Coast. I had July, August. I had July to January to finish up my tour on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. When I was home on leave, I called up a girl that I'd gone to high school with and actually grade school with too, and went out with her a few times, and I started dating her. So I think once or twice I would come home from the East Coast on a long weekend pass, and somebody, I didn't drive, so some other guy, we'd all pitch in money. He'd pick us up. He was heading, I think, to Detroit. So he dropped me off at Telegraph Road in Detroit, and I would either hitchhike or I'd have one of my relatives come get me. And I'd come home and go on a date with my wife and have, eat, sleep the night at my mom's place and turn around and somebody would take me back over to Telegraph Road in Detroit, drop me off, and we'd meet at the Top Hat restaurant, and poof, we'd hit the road and drive all the way to South Carolina, or North Carolina, back to...
How would you say your service changed you in your life?
I don't know. I think it grew me up. I think it helped me focus more on what I wanted to do. I still don't know what I want to do for a career, But when I came home, I got dating. I went out and got a job. I started working right away. I was working in January.
Where at?
I went to work at General Motors, punching buttons on a press in their room. I worked there January through August. I think in August I started school at Battle Creek Community College, and my wife helped me get signed up and stuff. She wanted to see me go to school, and she was already in school. And then I transferred from Battle Creek to Kellogg, and then I transferred from Kellogg to Western, and transferred my credits all transferred in except for I lost 1 credit hour going from Valley to Western. I think there was 2 4-hour classes at Western, and I had to take 3 3-hour classes at Valley. So 8 versus 9 credit hours. So I lost 1, but I transferred all that in, and I got involved in a program for industrial education, and I was a teacher for 30 years. So,
You think your time in the Marine Corps helped you be a teacher?
I don't think so. Other than maturity, growing up, my school skills were horrible. My writing skills. I was shop classes I liked. The rest of that stuff in high school, I wasn't good at anything, because I didn't take an interest in it. But it grew me up enough to where I could at least sit still in class and show up on time, and my wife helped me. I didn't type, so I would handwrite my reports and stuff, and then stuff I had to get typed up, she'd type it up. She'd correct my English and stuff, try to make it look like I was halfway literate. And but gradually you learn more and more how to do that stuff on your own, so anyway, so I went to school, I graduated with a bachelor's degree, went into teaching, and while I was teaching, I started my master's degree, and so I finished that, and then I've taken outside classes besides that, but, I didn't count them towards a doctorate or nothing. But,
How did you personally feel with the riots and protests that were going on towards Vietnam?
When I got back, I honestly, I didn't let that shit bother me. I didn't. I was focused on going to school, getting married. I know a lot of people wanted to talk about my experiences and stuff, and I just wanted to put it behind me. I didn't really want to talk about it, and I didn't talk much about it really when I got home. I just got on with what I needed to do to get a job, get married, that kind of stuff. So I didn't have anybody spit at me when I got off the airplane. This is Kalamazoo, that stuff hadn't started, I don't think, or at least if it did, I got off on a day where there wasn't any spitting going on or whatever, So I went to Western. I mean, that was a big active campus, but I went to my classes, was in class, and when I got out of my classes, if I went home or went to work, and when I was home, I was studying. I was busy. I didn't really pay much attention to protest or who. I didn't go shoot pool with the guys every night and stuff. I'd go out with some of the guys at the end of the semester after final exams, maybe go out and have a few beers or something. But I don't remember playing much. I don't remember getting all involved. But I remember my cousins and stuff. They always wanted to talk about it. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I just say, not much. What do you think? Now they're fragging people over there. I said, well, all I can say is I never saw anybody get fragged. Nobody in my outfit was going to blow our lieutenant up. Some of them were pissed at him, but yeah, so. Well, what do you think about whatever the hell the big issues was? What do you think about Cali murdering all them people in My Lai? I said, well, I can't say I've had taken sniper rounds from a village where I didn't feel like going in there and killing a few people, but mostly you'd get in there and be some old damn grandma, mama-san, just trying to, survive, and you show up, and she's got the Viet Cong showing up at night, stealing her rice, and telling her that she's got to be a freedom fighter or what. And then we come through in the daytime and ask her where's the Viet Cong at, Well, if she says anything to us, they're going to come back there and they're going to get wind of that. They're going to cut her fucking head off, So those people were caught in the middle all the time. Some of them, yeah. After the United States was over there long enough, we squashed enough rice and busted up enough orchards and blew up enough villages where we I imagine made quite a few enemies. You know what I mean? You can't drive a tank through a goddamn village. You can't walk across a rice paddy without fucking with somebody's crops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Poor son of a bitch he ain't got a John Deere. His John Deere is a hay-eating bull, you know? So, yeah. I didn't blame him, honestly, for not wanting to say anything. And I think for the most part, they were caught in the middle. And I don't know who their leadership, I don't remember what his name was, something, when we got over there, and then he was gone, and somebody else come in and took over. And the rich guys were running the country, but the poor guys sure as hell they were just out there trying to struggle to, feed themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting towards the end of your oral history here, John. I would like to take a moment here and open up the floor to you directly, in case there's anything we haven't talked about or covered yet that you would like to add to this oral history.
Well, I know when I went back to Vietnam in 2006, is that when I went?
6 and 14, I think you told me.
Yeah, I think it was 6. The people, the place had changed an amazing amount. I mean, they had interstate highways and everything had improved. The people were dressed well. They didn't have ragamuffin shoes on. They had better clothes. A lot of them were Western style clothes. You didn't have too many people living in grass huts, making huts with stuff that grew on site, more metal buildings and metal roofs on, wicker walls, whatever. But I thought as a country they looked like they were doing a lot better. And what we did teach them, I think, in 10 years we were there was how to be capitalists. And maybe they already knew that, They all know how to hustle and try to make money to buy the things they want, whether it be a radio or a fan or some accessory that they could use around the house to make their life a little nicer, So when I went back, I was treated with respect, cheerful faces. The children of my generation, the children of Vietnam that were when I was over there at 19 years old, were now running the country. So a lot of those people knew English because they picked it up when the Americans were over there. The cuisine in the restaurants is good. It's French, because the French were there a good many years. They know how to make a hamburger good. My wife liked Vietnamese food, so I don't know. I think it was a good experience to go back and see how their culture is living today and how much improved it was from the time during the war. They didn't have shit during the war, and and their country was at war. They were poverty stricken. They were hungry. All the bad things that come along with war. So
it's awesome that you got to go back and see it in a peaceful setting.
Yeah.
Like you got to, it almost kind of completes the story for you almost. You saw it in its ugly period.
I'd recommend anybody go back that had fought a war somewhere and go back and make a trip back, because it'll improve you. If you got any hatreds and resentments and stuff like that, it'll help you with that. When we went back, when I went with just the military tour, we had South Vietnamese military men that were retired. They'd have a job, government job, tending the cemeteries or something, and they would tour you around the cemetery and show you where the sites were and this and that. Explain the graves and that kind of stuff. They'd have some interpreter. They had cushy jobs. weren't hard labor jobs, like the rest of the country has to do, so, yeah.
Is there anything you've always wanted to share about your service or your Vietnam or your veteran experience that you never have?
I can't think of anything. I've never been real closed-mouthed about it. I mean, I haven't really talked about it, but I guess because I had more things to do than talk about stuff that I didn't have any control over, really. So I don't know, I guess I had some anger issues, but I don't know, I didn't get my legs shot off or nothing, you know what I mean? I lost a few friends, but I don't know. Yeah. I've never been a grudge carrying kind of guy, If anything, you always felt like you got off easy, in the war, I never got overrun my position ever when I was over there. Just got lucky. They didn't want me, I don't think I was ever on a hill that really got, assaulted by a large outfit. I didn't really directly get involved in ambush, where I went out on patrol and I was ambushed on the trail that, ended up being a mess, So, in a lot of ways, I was really lucky. I don't know why. Went up north, wandered all over the damn DMZ. Had to deal with mines and booby traps and that kind of stuff, but really never ended up getting into hand-to-hand combat, assault in hills and stuff. Never ran into that when I was up there. The year after, and what they were doing, they were building troops up during that year that I was up the months that I was up in the DMZ. They were building up troops, and I think then they hit in '68. They put on the Tet Offensive, and they came into Way. They swept across the DMZ area, came into Highway 9 with tanks from Laos, drove right in to Highway 9, and people up there caught a lot of shit that year. They had a lot of casualties and deaths. So we were up there 6 months before that, and we got mortared. We were right along the Danaha River or whatever the hell it is. They had watchtowers that they could see our movements on the other side of the river. We were up in the mountains near Laos. I think we were up near Hill 881, 882. We wandered around up in those hills, and we never ran into a shit show. So I guess you could say I was lucky, Somebody was looking out for me. I always thought my mother prayed me out of that war. She was saying her prayers, So.
Well, John, I just want to thank you again for sitting down with me today.
Yeah.
Talking about what you did over there, your experiences, sharing all those stories and photographs with me. It was really special, and I really thank you. And one thing I would like to do is just say welcome home.
Thank you.
I don't know if you've been told that, but welcome back.
Yeah, a lot more often nowadays. It seems like everybody says it. But it's always nice to hear. But honestly, I didn't feel like any of that shit was. I didn't run into protesters when I got off the airport that I didn't remember. And I didn't go seeking the shit, so I didn't go looking for somebody that was protesting. If there was a protest going on, I was busy doing other stuff, so I didn't. Maybe I'm kind of aloof or whatever, but yeah, it was what it was. I know one thing: that war in Vietnam bought me an education, and I took advantage of it. And I was grown up and matured up enough after that couple of years in the military that I was able to stay studying and wanted to study. And I didn't have that maturity in high school. You know, I learned more science and mathematics as an adult than I ever did in high school, you know. So I think a lot of school and education is state of mind, you know. It's are you ready for it, you know?
Yeah.
Do you see a function for it, you know? And I enjoyed my classes for the most part that I took. The education classes, I used to grumble and gripe about them. I always thought they always wanted you to read a bunch of goddamn books and write book reports on it. Well, reading and writing weren't my forte, so, but I did, you know. But as far as the technical stuff about my career, I liked it. I liked learning how to, you know, work the machinery and, you know, that kind of stuff. So, you know, I majored in automotive, so that was right down my alley. And I had a good teacher. I had a teacher who was an automotive engineer. I mean, you can't get much better